Sound Whispers, and I'm going to read to you another story from my fairy tale book. I think this is quite a long story this time actually. It's called Donkeyskin. Once upon a time there was a lucky king. He was strong, noble and wise. His subjects loved him and his neighbours respected him. His wife was fair and good, and their love was deep and true. They had one daughter so bright and dear that she was all the world to them. Their palace was grand and comfortable, and their courtiers were loyal, smart and sensible. Their servants liked hard work. Their huge stables housed the world's best horses. The marvel of the stables, however, was not a horse but a donkey. The king kept him in a luxurious stall with 100 servants all of his own. The king had a good reason for this. The donkey never simply soiled his bedding. Instead, each morning the bedding was found covered with a heap upon heap of golden coins. One day the queen fell ill. All of the doctors in the kingdom couldn't cure her. She felt her end was near, and she said to the king, "I have one last request. When you remarry," "Never," interrupted the sad king. The queen went on calmly, "You must remarry. Your ministers will insist that you have sons to succeed you on the throne. Only promise me to wait until you find a wife better and fairer than I. Promise me this, and then I'll die happy." The king promised solemnly, and the queen died happy in the knowledge that there were none to be found as beautiful as she. The king's ministers wanted him to remarry at once. He wept and told them of his vow, and defied them to find anyone as fair as the face and as good of heart as his late queen. But the ministers insisted. At last the king promised to look around for a wife. He visited all of the families and that had unwed princesses, but not one princess could compare to his late wife. Unhappily, he soon decided that the only princess fairer and better than his late wife was his own daughter. He told his daughter that he would marry her, since she alone met the conditions of the promise. She begged him as well she might to forget the idea, but he would not change his mind. The princess was frantic. That night she went in a carriage drawn by a clever sheep to see her godmother, the Lilac Fairy. The fairy comforted her and told her what to do. "To wed your father would be wrong," said the fairy, "but you needn't refuse him outright. Instead, tell him to get you a dress of the colour of the weather before you give him an answer. Rich though he is, he'll never find a weather-coloured dress." The princess thanked the fairy. Next day she told her father that she would answer his proposal after he had given her a weather-coloured dress. The king summoned the finest dressmakers. "Make my daughter a weather-coloured dress at once," he said. "If you fail, you'll hang." The dressmakers soon delivered the dress. The sky itself was no lovelier blue, soft cloud and shimmering. The princess didn't know what to do. She asked the Lilac Fairy. "Demand a dress the colour of the moon," said the fairy. The king ordered a moon-coloured dress from his best silversmiths. He was in such haste they finished it the next day. It was a marvel of soft radiance, but the sight of it sent the princess into her room in tears. The Lilac Fairy said, "Now ask him for a dress the colour of the sun. At least it will keep him busy until we think of a way out of this." The king ordered the sun-coloured dress, and he even gave his rarest jewels to add to its brilliance. When it was done, it shone so like the sun that those who saw it were dazzled. The princess went hopelessly to her room, and the Lilac Fairy was very vexed by the king's success. "Now," she said, "we must ask him for something really hard. Demand the skin of his dear famous donkey who gives him all of his gold. Go ahead." The princess did ask the king, and he thought it a queer wish, but he did not hesitate. The donkey was killed, and its skin brought to the unhappy princess. Her godmother found the poor princess weeping. "Don't cry, child," she said. "Misery can turn to joy if you're brave. Wrap up in the donkey skin and leave here and walk until you can walk no more. If you give up everything for virtue's sake, heaven will reward you richly. Go and take my wand. All your dresses will follow you underground in this trunk. When you want them, tap twice on my wand. Now hurry." Huddled in the ugly donkey skin, and all smeared with soot to hide her beauty, the princess left the palace. The king was wild to find her gone. He sent 199 soldiers and 1,199 policemen to find her, but they all failed. The princess went far, hunting for a place to stay. Now and then kind folk fed her, but she was so dirty that they never let her stay. At last she found a big farm where a girl was needed to empty the slops and clean out the pigsties and do all of the dirty jobs. The farmer thought that such a dirty girl would be just right for the job. The princess was glad to agree, and she worked hard among the foul sheep and pigs. Soon, despite her filthy looks, she was known as a good worker. She was allowed to live in a tiny hut near the pigs. One day she passed a pool of clear water and saw her reflection. The dirt and the donkey skin disgusted her. Quickly she bathed and saw herself beautiful once more. Of course she had to hide in the donkey skin again to return home. But the next day it was a holiday. Alone in her hut she took the fairy wand and summoned her trunk. Soon she was immaculate and splendid, jewelled and curled in her weather-coloured dress. That same Sunday the son of the king to whom the farm belonged went hunting. On the way home the young prince stopped at the farm. He was a handsome, lively, friendly young man. The farmer's wife served him dinner. Afterwards he strolled around the farm and he saw a tiny hut with a locked door. Curiosity led him to look through the keyhole. He gasped amazed, for there was a girl, beautiful beyond belief and richly dressed. He fell in love immediately with her noble, sad, modest face, and hurried to the farmhouse to ask her name. There he was told that the hut was the home of Donkeyskin, a girl so dirty none but the pigs could stay near her. The prince realised that these people knew nothing of the mystery. He asked no more and went home, but he was haunted by the memory of the lovely vision that he had seen, and soon he fell desperately ill of a high fever. The doctors were helpless. "Perhaps," they said to the queen, "your son has a secret sorrow." The queen begged her son to say what had troubled him, and she promised him anything he wanted. "Mother," he whispered, "have Donkeyskin make me a cake with her own 2 hands. Maybe that will help." Puzzled, the queen asked the courtiers who Donkeyskin might be. "That one," said the courtier. "She's a horrid, filthy girl who keeps pigs on one of your farms." "No matter," said the queen. "Donkeyskin exists, therefore Donkeyskin shall grant my son's wish. He wants a cake made by her. We must humour the sick. Have her make a cake quickly." Orders went out to the farm post-haste. Donkeyskin had heard good things about the young prince. The queen's orders might give her a chance to show her true happy self. Happily, she hurried to her hut. She bathed and dressed in silvery robes for her cake. She used the finest flour and the finest eggs and butter. But by accident, or perhaps on purpose, who knows, a ring slid from her finger and into the batter. When the cake was baked, she hid in her donkey skin again, and she gave the cake to a courtier who hurried back to the castle. The prince was so pleased that he sat up to eat. He almost choked on the ring, but seeing it, he felt better. He now had a key to the mystery that haunted him. It was an emerald set in a gold band so small that only the finest finger could wear it. The prince wondered and pondered over this new clue. The more he wondered, the worse it grew his fever. When his parents heard the boy's fever was worse, they came running. "Son," said the king, "tell us what you want and we'll get it for you somehow." "Father," said the prince, "see this ring? It can solve all my problems. I want to marry the girl whose finger it fits, no matter who she is, princess or peasant." The king took the ring, and he sent for 100 drummers and trumpeters throughout the kingdom with 100 heralds. They summoned everyone to the trying on of the ring. The girl who could wear the gold-set emerald was to marry the prince. First came princesses, then duchesses, baronesses, and ladies. Not one could wear the ring. Then actresses and models tried, but their fingers were too fat. Then came maids and cooks and servants and shepherdesses. They had no better luck at all. At last the princess, "What about Donkeyskin? Has she tried?" The courtiers laughed. One said, "No, she's too dirty to come to court." "Fetch her," said the king. "We mustn't omit anyone." Donkeyskin had heard of the heralds. She well knew that it was her ring that had caused all the commotion. Bathed and dressed and beautiful, she waited quietly, and when the heralds came for her, she slipped on her donkey skin and opened the door. Joking and poking fun, the courtiers led her to the prince. "Do you live in the hut behind the barnyard?" he asked. "Yes, Majesty," she replied. "May I see your hand?" he said. The king and queen were amazed, and the courtiers were dumbfounded when they saw her hold out an exquisite little white hand. The ring slid on easily in a perfect fit. The prince knelt before her to declare his love. Blushing and touched by his homage, she shook her shoulders a trifle, and her ugly disguise fell back and she was revealed, the most royal maiden brilliantly dressed in a sun-coloured dress. The king beamed and the queen clapped for joy. They begged her to marry their son. Before she could answer, the lilac fairy came from on high on a chariot of flowering lilac sprays. The fairy told the whole story of the brave prince. The king and queen were pleased to know that she was a well-born princess, but the prince rejoiced at her bravery and fell twice as much in love. Invitations for the wedding went out that very day. First on the list was the princess's father. He wasn't told who the bride would be. Every other king in the world came too. There were kings in carriages, kings in rickshaws, kings riding tigers and elephants and eagles. The richest king of all was the bride's father, and he appeared with his new wife, a lovely, sensible, widowed queen. Pleased and surprised to find his child alive, he gave the couple his blessing. The prince's father gave his throne and crown to the prince as a wedding gift. Their marriage was feasted throughout the country with a 3-month holiday, but their love lasted longer still. Indeed, it would have lasted forever had they not died at the end of a happy 100 years.